Again, anybody who's just joined us, thank you for coming. I am absolutely delighted and thrilled to have our next guest. Where at one point we didn't know that you could actually be here. So alongside me, I have artist, poet, author, and founder of Not Vulcan, Arts Hub, I'm going to call it, because I like the idea, on Mull, that's set up as, to have residencies of artists throughout as many media as there is, I think. I must tell you, I found this book. In fact, it was given to me just around Christmas. And I see this book as my holdfast through lockdown. In that really depths of lockdown. Every day I would pick it up, and it was just like I recognized so much of what was in your book and the artwork, some of which I knew, but then I was finding things out about films I never knew about Seaweed, and I just thought I've just so got to ask Miek to join us today. So I know you will be absolutely thrilled by her presentation. So without further ado, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you all for being here. It's really great to be among so many seaweed sisters and brothers. And thank you for inviting me to this festival. And I hope there will be many more festivals coming. Walking to the Scottish tidal island of Errid at ebb tide, I came across an immense chunk of seaweed beached in the bay. Its dark leaves and stems contrasted strongly with the pale sand. The seaweed looked lively and spiraled like an Archimedean screw. The outgoing tide had tucked the leaves open wide. A sturdy stem emerged from a large gold-studded ball, not round but flat and wide, bordered with amber-colored ruffles. The stem became smoother as it processed and ended in a leathery leaf that was split along 21 long ragged strips, each pointing in a different direction. My gaze slid back along the milled edges of the stem. The seaweed plant shone as though it had been polished and seemed to be filled with a strange force. It appeared boundless. Although torn from its colony and washed ashore, it showed no signs of decay. I kneeled down and ran my fingers through the strands. The stalk and leaves felt firm and were cooler than I expected. I carefully slid my hands under the heavy stem and stood up. The weed heeled over, forming a parabola. I slung it over my shoulder. It was twice my height. Folded double, it touched the rippled sand on both sides, a vertical embrace. This mysterious appearance of this specimen, which had grown underwater into such a coquettish beauty, changed my life, really. From that moment on, I was completely into seaweed, and I moved from Amsterdam to Mull. And I started just because I didn't know anything about it, and I still feel the more you start to look at them, the less you know, or the more you wanted to know. So I started to collect them and to dry them and to eat them and to see what I can do as a material. So this is just one. Sometimes in my shower or my kitchen are just full of seaweed, and I think this is a great device of I think a French underwater artist who developed this study room where he could be in for 3 hours, and he could move it with his feet. And it was all weighted at the bottom with cannonballs. His name is Eugène Rancenet-Villet, and this is about 1882. And he, you have to look him up. He has made beautiful, beautiful paintings. Well, this is me trying to get some of the movement of the sugar kelp on a waterproof piece of slate with some wax crayons. And yeah, I want to take you a bit like a cross section through the book, so I go a bit quick maybe through the images, but I will show a lot of books and artists who have been working with seaweed and writers who have been writing about seaweed. This is a scientific drawing, and I like it because I think it's really beautiful how the scientists got both of the seaweeds, the winged kelp and the sugar kelp, both on the page, just folded them that they fit. This is by Samuel Octavius Gray. It's also from 1867. And when you were asking about the title, I proposed As the Gemweed Drifts, because gemweed is a name for seaweed that is used often in Asia. And like in Japan, seaweed is seen as, it's always been associated with beauty and with health and with love as well, with longing. The name wakame for the seaweed, you probably know, means young girl, and it is given to the seaweed because the bending of the seaweed harvesters is quite similar as the bending of the seaweed. But not all the people liked it. Virgil wrote, "Nihil filior alga," there is nothing more worthless than seaweed. And there are many stories from sailors that have horrible accidents by getting entangled into it. And we'll read a little fragment. From a book that is called In the Sea and Its Wonders by Mary and Elizabeth Kirby. And they describe a terrifying sea monster that you could see here on the picture. So this is a description from a captain. The weather was calm, and I looked out over the sea. I suddenly noticed a large sea snake. Its body moved up and down through the waves and appeared dozens of meters long. Its giant head was clearly visible, as was the lion's mane that hung around its neck. Within a few minutes, the entire crew was on deck observing the monster. I was determined not to let it slip, like captains before me. I sent some of my crew out in a rowing boat to capture the snake with a length of rope and some riffles. The sailors rowed until they came close to the animal. It was a massive beast that kept diving down and ducking under, but they managed to tie the rope around its neck and uniting their forces, they dragged the sea snake back to the ship. Once hoisted on deck, the animal turned out to be so covered in shells and other sea creatures that it was not so easy to see what kind of animal it was. Well, in Edam in the Netherlands, in the middle of the Netherlands, there are a lot of houses that have above the door they have a stone with a mermaid above it and two buckets of milk, which he is in between. It's not really a happy mermaid, or she always looks angry on these stones, like this one. And there's a story that there was a mermaid totally covered in seaweed found in the middle of the Zuiderzee, which is not a sea anymore now, but she was, people thought she was really a wild woman that had to be caught. So she was, I think, lured to the shore by two milkmaids, and then they washed her, so all the green algae away from her, and they learned her to spin, and then she was put up in a dry house, and she was spinning for years, and was really like somebody who you could look at through a window, like a spinning mermaid. This is a very, very old book from the Middle Ages, from a Dutch fishmonger who sold fish, but also collected all kind of fish he found Worcestershire, but also that other people brought for his collection. And this was one of the first pages in books with seaweed in it. And it's just also, I like so much the composition of these pages. He have made 3 books in his life. They are now all in the Royal Library in the Netherlands. And one is the herring book, one is the whale book, and one is the fish book. And they were just loose sheets, and he would always have them in his pocket. So they are very worn out, but yeah, this is one of the pages. And this kind of very loose composition reminded me on the work of Matisse. I don't know if you know that, but Matisse started his way of making collages as a solution for being ill. He was a long time he had, I think, stomach problems, and then he had to lay in bed. And he had a very, very clever nurse you see here on the stairs, Marie Bourgeois, and she helped him cutting out some shapes, and a lot of shapes were about seaweed out of colored paper, and he would be in bed and he would point out where to hang them and what color to combine. And the same nurse and who became also his model. She became a nun a few years later, and she invited Matisse for maybe his biggest art piece in his life. Many people say this is the most important. It's for a church in Vence, near Lyon in France, and he could design there the windows, the steel glass windows, and also the tiles on the floor, and also a wall painting, and also the robes, like the coats from the priests. So you can see here one, and it's all with bits of leaves on it. They're beautiful also in real, like almost like butterfly wings. And if you go to this church when it is a sunny day, the light which comes through the window will bring the whole seaweed pattern on the floor. This is a painting by Gauguin, and many of the paintings that were made in the time, they are very stiff and brownish from dark layers of varnish now, and they're all about the collecting seaweed for the kelp burning. But this is so vivid, and they are bending like the seaweed stalks themselves, very sparkling in color. This is a painting by another French painter, Alfred Guéloux, and he did a lot of portraits with fishermen and their catch, the catch of the day, or portraits with their families. And this is called La Mère et l'enfant aux mer, so the mother with her child at the sea. And looking at this painting, I was thinking about the imprint of the wet seaweed in the dress of the boy or the girl. And I realized that I have a lot of dresses and textiles in this presentation. I hope you don't mind. This brings back almost like the study bell from the third image I showed you. This is a sketch, a portrait of the Seaweed Mania in the Victorian time, where many women started to collect seaweed and looking themselves a little bit as shells or crabs moving around the beach. in the Victorian and Albert Museum in London, there is this dress. It's a dress made by William Kilburn, and it is made with wood block printing techniques. So quite strange that he took a very rough way of printing for such a delicate material as seaweed. One second. And in 1790, so he was trained as a textile printer in Dublin. He designed a costly fabric for Queen Charlotte, the wife of King George III, and the design was based on different types of seaweed printed in cotton in 7 colors. Large wooden printing blocks carved with the seaweed designs were produced by him just outside of London. Yeah, it's really moving how all this, very fine drawings, also in the ripples and from the dress, which is not really, it is really in a bad condition, but they bought it because it's the only piece left. And there's you can ask for his sketchbooks in the museum, and it's beautiful how there's very, very precise drawings and paintings, and there are also the corrections still in there. So there are little pieces of paper glued on the paintings where he did a little correction, or he changed one mussel for another shell. A very, very dedicated maker. What is very special, I think. These textiles were, of course, people wanted to have them, and they were very, very expensive. And other printers or other studios started to copy them, which was to his great displeasure. But nobody could complete with his designs because they were of lesser quality yarn and not nearly as colorful. But cost as thirds of the price of the Kilburn textiles. And he was the first person to lobby for copyright for textiles. So in 1787 he signed a petition to protect designers. For the first time in history, designers on linen, cotton, calico and muslin were protected by law for a period of just 2 months. Although, well, not very long, but it did somewhat to the delay of their copying. Well, this one you probably will know. Anna Atkins, who did her cyanotype, actually the very first book the very first photography book is made by a woman, and it is about seaweed. It's not really bounded, so it is also loose pages again, and they're all different. I think there are 13 copies left, and this is one of the pages that she would just send out to friends or to other scientists for a collection. And I thought this is quite interesting because Josie Iselin, a contemporary artist, is working with a flatbed scanner. And she is combining old prints of seaweed and scientific drawings with her scans, and just, the color and the transparency and the shapes from seaweed. I think she has really found a beautiful way to get that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I went too quick. This is a copper engraving from flora that is made in the Netherlands in the 18th century. It is hand-colored. And it's in my kitchen, and well, not the real one, of course, but some days I see it as a sea lattice, and some days I see it as a landscape or as something that is even not that's something that is in action or moving in front of my eyes. And I wanted to read here a little of a fragment of book. I already lost my way in my notes now. Yeah, so this is from Roger Deacon, who is swimming in the middle of some sea lettuce. I threw myself in. I felt the incoming tide lock onto my legs and thrust me in towards the distant woods along the shore. Each time a frond of sea lettuce slightly brushed me or glued itself around my arms. I thought it was a jellyfish and flinched, but I soon grew used to it. Seaweed all around me, sliding down each new wave to drape itself about me. I kept on swimming until I practically dissolved, jostled from behind by the swell. And then I found this film by the Lumiere brothers. Actually, it has nothing to do with seaweed. But in my head, these things come together. And I hope the next one will work. It is a film, and then I explain it later. Yeah, I think this dance comes so close by what you can see when you look at seaweed underwater. So the early film experiments there's there are a lot of early films where you see seaweed starring into it. This is one of them. This is a film Fini Terrae, and it's by Jean Epstein, and it is about 4 boys who leave their town in France to work, to go for some month kelp harvesting, and it's you get a bit dizzy from looking at this film because the camera is moving with the seaweed and zooming in on the sparkles on the water, and it's just really using all the effects and all the things that are happening. Also, one of the they don't agree after a few days about how to harvest anymore, and then one hits him or one gets hurt by it, and his thumb got something happened with his thumb, and he becomes really ill. And then there's this also moment where he is himself in a kind of really bad state, and you see the lighthouse, and the camera goes with the lighthouse. We're completely mad. This is a photo from a few weeks ago. Some winged kelp which is breaking through the surface of the water. There are some, I found some some writing that people on Iona, so that Iona is opposite Mull, they used to nibble on and the children, they used to nibble on these middle ribs because they are quite sweet. And this is a drawing by Ellsworth Kelly. I have also something to read here. Yeah, the undertitle here under the image in the book is a challenge for seaweed to maintain its symmetry in an empty sea. Kelly was trained in the Second World War as somebody who would design camouflage soundscapes, and he would also design spaces. I cannot really explain it well, but so he was busy with letting things disappear in the surroundings, and his own work started to be less and less decorated, and there are many beautiful sketches of flowers and leaves where it becomes just one line, but very precise, but very simple. When a hailstorm breaks out over the beach, the hail starts by filling up the ripples in the sand. The waves from earlier are now marked out, a wave of hailstones above a wave made of sand. Wind lashes the hail low across the mudflats toward the surf. Seaweed blocks its path, causing a pile-up. I watch the bouncing balls. On the windy side, the seaweed turns increasingly white. The hail accumulates until letters seem to appear, and as yet unreadable text is written on the beach in compressed ice. Each piece of beached seaweed generates a different font. Kelp stretches letter into capitals, while strands of rockweed make notes in italics. Larger hailstones are attracted to larger algae, smaller hailstones to smaller algae. When I walk back half an hour later, the text has moved along a little, and the white shadowy edges around the seaweed have been erased. Yeah, now I wanted to end this talk with some of my drawings that are also in the book. So, the book actually is the original is in Dutch, but it came in a series of German books, a series about portraits about animals and plants, which is the publisher Mattes and Seitz. They make very, very beautiful nature books, and every book is about one species, and there's always a lot of stories and artworks and literature in this setup of this series, but there's always the portraits with a description of them, and on the top left that's the coral weed, and then the sugar kelp and the dulse, and more and more myself I feel the need to not only work with the beauty of seaweed but also make work from seaweed. And try to make sometimes some ugly seaweeds as well, because otherwise I just cannot handle it anymore. So the last one here on the right was the ugliest one I could make. Here I'm trying to make a photo from above from a large sea kelp, which I wanted to print to show other people that are not living in Scotland that they are so huge, and to share how it is when you stand next to a seaweed. I made 8 high resolution photos, and then stitched them together in the computer and printed them with the Riso machines. So these are 2.50 m high sugar kelps. It felt a bit silly to bring one on paper today, but yeah, when I hold it, I'm really disappearing. And this is just a color test of tidal tones I'm making at the moment to see what kind of inks and dyes I can make from the seaweed. And yeah, they are disappearing quite fast. So I'm not yet there that I can really, or I can make work with it now, but it will disappear very quickly. And the one below on the left, that is made with burnt kelp stipes. So you put them in a box and you put them in the fire, and then you get this ash. And with some Arabic gum, you can make kind of ink again. Yeah, and yeah, I wanted to end with a poem, if there's time. Yeah. And that is, I've written it. I tried to write it from the perspective of seaweed. Submerged. We are large and ubiquitous. We sway and untangle. We are never made up of an eye. We are laminaria, not a flock, a herd, or a school. We are always legend, numerous and innumerable, a myriad spread. We stretch together, deeply entangled or waving separately in clumps of fleshy fingers. We stand upright in the current, remain free of leaves without branch or trunk. Beneath mirrors of water we wave, not sparse, but amassed. Sequins sprout from our main blades. Our foliage is corrugated, our borders rushed. We are gelatinous, we are brown. In dim light we look black, and on land shellacked, sugared with purple. We are gymnastically inclined, arise from stems rapidly bear leaves that finger and fork. We cross-hatch the sea, are latticed beings. We tolerate and close up and in. We are mild towards those that know us and leave us unharmed. Dampen us, we have floats. We are accommodating by nature. We watch things happen, don't intervene. We let be. We adapt. We can develop. This time is our time. This water, our water. We follow the waves, are opportunists. We endure silt, penetrating rays of light, acidification, and the air that dehydrates us at low tide. We anchor ourselves to rock, mark the coast, regulate the impact of the waves. Swirling, we advance unhurried. We unfurl, grow in breath, so that our crowns bath in light. We propel the sea, releasing green weeds like salad leaves and hushing the red weeds that are afraid of the sun. We are a salty universe, an inverted wood. We are perennials. We multiply, can count and measure. Jellyfish, Plinalloe, and polyps depend on us. We help reduce weight now that people are heavier. We keep airways free, remove dental plaque and the remains of tumors. Yet, greedy ships beleaguer us, nets tangle up in us. People pulverize, crush and bite into us, but electric rays still see their prey in us. Flying fishes and abalone shelter in us, and clownfish live in us. Let our seas flow calm and cool. We grow brittle on land or become submerged. We want to sway, are unperturbable. We are legend. Thank you. Thank you.